noticed something with Modern Warfare and particularly Warzone that it brought a lot of people back to the series, or people that played the series casually weren't really into it. It's also brought them over, and I think that's one reason why some of these systems that we're going to be talking about got implemented.
Got you. Because it seems like, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about, but we can, we'll gradually get into it. But one thing I definitely wanted to find out or talk about is, I don't know if you know the answer, but how long has skill-based matchmaking been around in general? Like I know that it's.
So
Go ahead.
from what I know, back in the day, I don't. From what I know, so the let me go through this in my mind real quick. All right, so pretty much, if you have you ever played COD on PC? I imagine because you did say you played the first COD on PC. You remember like server browsers, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it used to be any COD, from my knowledge, any COD that has like a server browser, an official server browser, doesn't have uh, at least not heavy matchmaking on the console counterpart. So I think the last COD that has a server browser was what, COD 4, maybe World at War. Um, and then I know everyone's seen that tweet about Black Ops 2 from the developer where he was like, "Oh yeah, I wrote the implementation." There's always been like some semblance of it, usually for protected brackets. So I would say going back at least to Black Ops 2, maybe a game. What was the game before Black Ops 2? It was Modern Warfare 3. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, I'd say
I don't
it's
know
been
much
more than
about
it's
Black
been
Ops.
about 10 years. You can say,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So it it's always been like kind of around,
yeah,
but not
but
like full
it's
force, especially not so much with
yeah,
consoles. Is what
I
I'm taking
hope
away from
so.
that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because sorry, someone just played a sound effect in my chat, so that kind of threw me off.
You're
So
good.
so yeah, it's been around, but I think more so it started getting tuned up, quote unquote, um, when we started, or the industry started to notice esports taking off. And I mean, there's plenty of like, you can look at like the stats on this online. You can just look them up. Look at like esports growth over the past 10 years, gaming peripheral market growth over the past 10 years, just like people wanting to get into esports or be professional players or be content creators. That growth that sector has grown tremendously over the past 10 years. So one of the things to make it more accessible, because when an industry grows, it brings a lot more people in, and through that you have to make it accessible, you have to make it approachable, right? So these systems are implemented for that reason. It's not necessarily like a lot of people think that like, oh, Activision's after me, and that's why they're nerfing me. And I think one of the
Right.
issues is that, and I think this is pretty much singular to COD, is that there's a lot of people who think they're the top 5% of players. So like,
That's fair. That's fair.
and it's not to like shit on anyone, right? Oh, sorry. Can I like curse on yours? I know
Oh,
some
hell
people
yeah.
like try to
Yeah.
run super
No,
family
no.
friendly. Okay.
Nope. We're adults here. Do adult
All
stuff.
right. So I know a lot of people would think that's like, I'm not trying to shit on anyone here, but like there aren't enough players to be affected by like some sort of rigging system, right? And the problem with COD is that there's never really been like, we've had ranked play back in like Black Ops 2. It's usually like Treyarch games that get ranked play. And the thing is that rank system hasn't always been used for like, like in like League of Legends. You play League of Legends, right?
Yeah, I love League of Legends.
Yeah, so like that rank system over there, a lot of like solo queue, challenger, masters players can get picked up by like an amateur pro team. I forget what like the
Right.
the lower division is called, but like there's like a path to pro, right? And a lot of esports titles offer like some sort of path to pro.
Right.
COD is one of the largest game franchises in the world, and doesn't have, and it has like this esports team that they're trying to, that's officially sponsored, or esports scene that's officially sponsored, but has no real path to pro. And it has been for a long time, where you play game battles, you play like tournaments here and there, and you try to get your name out there in like the competitive community.
Right.
So it just seems as if like this, and I think a lot of people like, because there's not much transparency on where everyone lies as a player, it's very easy for things like a patent and this like conspiracy theory of a patent to go viral.
That's
Is that like kill cams are not accurate. A lot of people, like when I see a clip on Twitter that goes viral or even on like TikTok, and it's like, oh my God, this game is nerfing me. At least now, a lot of the complaints are like, I'm getting nerfed because that patent has gone viral. But like a lot of the things I'm seeing is like, oh, this game is actively nerfing me. Look how I died, right? And the proof is a kill cam. And the thing is that like there seems to be a general like misunderstanding of what like the technology behind kill cams, and I don't blame anybody because like nobody explains this to you. But like kill cams are not a recording of what actually, like they're not a recording of what the server sees. Like they're not an accurate recording of what happened is what I'm trying to say. They're a simulation slash like a reproduction of what happened. And so like the way I would explain it is that think of it as the server is taking screenshots like every 20 frames, right? I don't want to do the math on that right now, but like, because 60 frames a second, 20 frames, I'm not going to do the math. But it's taking screenshots of what happened like every 20 frames, right? And then those screenshots are used to like recreate the kill cam on your client when you die.
Bro, what are you talking about,
so
man?
The information that doesn't get captured, the information that gets lost in that kill cam has to be guessed in a way. And that's why like kill cams as a whole can't be trusted because they're not like, it's not capturing all the information of what happened. So like sometimes you'll be like, yo, I got around that corner. What the hell? Like it just showed me like die around that corner. Well, what probably happened is that on the guy that killed you, his the guy that killed you, I'm being fucking spammed right now in chat. God damn it. I'm gonna pause the alerts real quick, Red Fist. I'm sorry about that, man.
Hey,
all right, so yeah, I like it when people do that kind of shit. Sometimes it's timely and something funny happens. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, so a lot of times it's like, yo, that evidence just can't be, you know, it's not actually evidence. So when you die around a corner, what's happening is the guy that killed you on his screen, chances are he like barely was able to like, he got a bullet in your ass, right? And that counts as your hitbox and you're dead, right? But on the kill cam side, what you see and what's being reported to the server is that 1 second you're at like 20% health, and the next screenshot that the server takes, you're at 0 health, and it just kind of places you there in the kill cam. So that's why there's like that desync between what happened and what the kill cam shows.
You've talked a lot about in some of your videos skill-based matchmaking versus, I think it's EOMM.
Yes.
So SBMM and EOMM.
Yep.
What is EOMM?
So EOMM is essentially like engagement optimized matchmaking. That's like the official term that's like been used in patents that have been found, right? So where this first kind of got quote unquote exposed was by the Apex Legends community, because there was an official patent by EA for something like this. Now, EA is not the only one it's not the only company that does this. Activision and a bunch of other game companies have some sort of like engagement optimization system. They kind of like have to, because every quarter they kind of need to show their investors, hey, look, not only are we making more money, but we have more players playing for longer. And you know, everyone would say just make a good game and people will play, but that's not necessarily how you like. It becomes very difficult when you're a yearly title to make a game that's better than the last. Yeah, or at least make more money than you did previously, right? So there's a reason. That's like the biggest reason why it exists, because without it, there's like a huge chance that player numbers dip. There's also like, that's one of the reasons why like things like battle passes exist, right? Because it's shown and it's been proven to bring like return customers, I would say. Returning, like players play longer when there's a battle pass to grind out or when there's something to grind out. So like it's all about engagement, right? Because a lot of the studies show internal testing, and then there's also like, if you just go on, what are like I can't even remember. Damn, I didn't even graduate that long ago, and I can't remember the like JSTOR to like look at like published articles on how engagement leads to increased spending. But it's kind of like the same idea as like social media companies. Their whole thing is, if we can increase engagement, right, people will stay on our service longer. It looks better to investors. So pretty much every game, every free service, it's all about engagement for them. And that's the biggest reason why it's like no one really talks about it, because SBMM is kind of like the blanket term used. And like if you've played any other game that has like a ranking system, you'll immediately recognize that SBMM and CoD is not the same as like SBMM and like Rainbow Six Siege, right? Because all these games have a skill-based like MMR system of some sort. But CoD, not only can you not see it, but like, for example, if you take a week off of Warzone, right? You take a week off of Warzone and you come back after that week, right? I will guarantee you that your lobbies are much easier. Why? Because the game is trying to ease you, not ease you back into playing, but like, it's not like trying to be nice to you or whatever, but so that you win your first game or you get like third place and like 16 kills, right? And you want to continue playing because you're chasing the dragon of a win, right?
Bro,
but like, let's say you take a week off of Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, any competitive title that has a ranking system where you can see your rank. It's not gonna like be like, oh, okay, you know what? We want you chasing the dragon. It'll be like, oh, you were gold a week ago. Well, you're still gold now, so we're gonna put you back in your gold lobbies.
Interesting. So that's a really interesting.
And that's
point
true
because,
SBMM. So the way it works, it pretty much helps everybody except for the people that play nonstop, right? So like, you go to work, right, and you hop on when your friends are playing. I wouldn't say like casual has like this really bad connotation to it, where it's like you filthy casual, you play Call of Duty like once or twice a week, but it's like you can play for 3 hours a day and not have it affect you too much, right? And you play like 4 days out of the 7. You play for like 4 days out of the 7 days in a week, right? The people that get really, really passionate and angry about it, and the people that like it feels like there's like super strict skill-based matchmaking, are the people who will typically like straight up play COD every day. And I guess it's like those are the people that really feel like they're being ripped off. When in reality, it's helping most of the player base get easier games, but it is also very scummy in that like it's not, you don't know where you lie, right? Like you don't know where you lie as a player. You don't know if you're actually winning these games because like it's straight up just putting you in bot lobbies. Now, I don't actually know for sure because I don't know if you're how familiar you are with Fortnite, but like Fortnite will give you straight up bots to play against.
Yep, real bots.
Yeah, like real bots, right? I don't know if COD does that. That I never actually looked into it. And the only reason why I know like some of this information is because like when I was working there as an intern, I was essentially like super inquisitive about like, how does this work? How does that work? Because I would have to like, it would be part of what I'm doing. So I would kind of have to ask. So here's how it typically works, right? So there's these, and there's research on there that you can like easily look up, but it's like addictive behavior and win-loss patterns. So in a lot of that research, it's like if you give too many easy wins, or not easy wins, but if someone's winning too much, regardless of like the challenge behind them, if someone's winning too much, they tend to get bored easily, right? So if you essentially, and if someone loses too many games, right, then they get, let's say, they rage quit, right?
Right.
So the whole idea is that you're not supposed to, good shit, like you're not supposed to, not allow them, but yeah, for lack of a better term, it's not conducive to someone playing a shit ton of games if they're winning too much or losing too much. So like if you go on a huge winning streak, right, to the system in place, it makes you, armor broke. They essentially start thinking that like, hey, this person's about to like hop off. All right, he's dead. Instant.
Good shit.
So they're like, oh shit, this person's gonna dip.
They try and give you games that they think you could win mixed in with games that they think you're probably going to lose to keep you
exactly. So it's not being rigged in real time. It's being kind of rigged beforehand. And the thing is that for a large portion of the COD community, they play with people that are like streamers and people that like play with those like God squads. They are the mighty few, right? There's not a whole lot of like 6 KD players out there running with other 6 KD players. So at that point, it becomes kind of hard to like use probability to determine if someone's going to lose a match or win a match before they hop in. Right. So the whole idea is that like, okay, we want to hand this guy a loss. We're going to try to make it as difficult for him to win when people say it's rigged in game, right? What I would say is Activision has had trouble getting, like, they don't want to invest in better servers. Netcode has been pretty shit for the longest time. Do you really think they would, like, processing all that data to nerf someone actively in game is super intensive compared to essentially determining the probability of them winning a game before it starts.
Okay, so you're
right?
saying
In
like the
matchmaking.
mid-game nerf thing is a myth, pretty much. It's not really.
It would only like with the technology we have, I would say it would only work flawlessly in a PvE game because there's just less data processing, like all that data in real time. Super fucking intensive on servers, especially. So it's easier for like before you get put into the game, for the matchmaking to handle a lot of the processing of like player stats, player habits, stuff like that. I would say that would make it even more complicated with the systems they have in place currently, because a lot of the times it's just like there's a lot of like biases when we try to evaluate our own skill. There's a reason why like ranking systems exist, right? It's the idea is that it's supposed to take those biases out, right? So like when someone is like, oh, I'm 35-2, and then I die once, and then I feel like I can't do anything, a lot of the time, I tend to just be like, well, you definitely changed the way you play, and other people are capable of changing the way they play. It's pretty simple that you just may be getting countered, versus like a 6 KD, like, oh, I'm getting nerfed in game. It's far more likely that you've changed your playstyle. Like I think everyone's guilty. Everyone can agree to being guilty of just completely like getting killed by a camper. You're already kind of tilted that day. You tilt even harder.
Keep going into the camper.
And you keep going back. The thing is, it's even with the team, and I mentioned previously, it's a lot harder to like hand out an L based off like percentages. The better your team is, right? Oh, broke armor. I'm not hitting that.
The DMR.
Same. Mine's not even fully leveled, so I'm trying to level it. All right. So it's a lot harder, like with the better team, right? Because they have to match you in accordance to giving out like either a win or a loss. Again, the win-loss thing we went over for engagement purposes.
The way you say that makes me hate skill-based matchmaking, not because the way you're saying it, but because it's the truth. When you say they're handing out wins and losses, shouldn't that be random? Shouldn't it be random?
So it's not like a guaranteed win-loss, right? Because it's based off of percentages. And I'm not like defending the system. I'm saying like the way it's thought out is that like it's okay because we're not actually like guaranteeing the win or loss, right? Like someone can, it's all about playing to the, what would the term be? Like regressing to the mean. So like some days someone's playing like someone's on fire, right? They're just fucking popping off. You can't stop them. They're playing amazing. And some days, you're not playing so well. And it kind of has to adjust for that like middle variance. So when you are not playing so well, it's not like it's like adjusting to where, and this depends on like how much data they have on you, but it's not adjusting to where like, oh, we like this is a guaranteed loss, this is a guaranteed win. This is like, this has a 50% or this has like a 70% chance of them not winning first place, right? It's actually a little bit easier to explain in like a normal like 6v6 game type, because Warzone in general just has like so many, like you can be first, you can be last, like there's like 80 fucking placements in between. Whereas like a normal lobby, it's binary, it's win or lose. So like it makes more sense when you explain it there, where it's like you play the percentages. Have you ever played like Destiny 2?
I've never played it, but I know a lot of people who do.
So from what I remember is that there used to be I think it's still like Destiny tracker, but like essentially if you played ranked, it would tell you like, oh, this is where like based off the community, this is your projected elo based off your stats. And as like you're loading into a match, you could look on the site on like, I think it was Destiny tracker. It'd be like, there's a 60% chance of you winning this game based off your elo, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win or you're going to lose, but that's just like what the matchmaking determines the outcome. It's not like a definite outcome, if that makes any sense. So like it's the reasoning is that we're not handing out wins and losses. We're just controlling for engagement so that someone doesn't win too many or lose too many.
So everything is based around engagement.
Yep, everything, even down to the battle pass. That's like one reason why I don't know how much you've like noticed. I haven't played that much this season, but like people are like, hey, is the battle pass taking longer? Like this shit feels like it's taking a little bit longer than it normally does.
This one does feel like it's taking a bit longer. I'm not gonna lie.
Ever since they also integrated all 3 games together, Warzone, Modern Warfare, and Cold War, like leveling feels a lot slower than it did in Modern Warfare. That's mad weird. Oh, they're on top of this building. Anybody have a?
I do. I have a sniper.
So it's like, hey, yo, this is taking a lot longer. That's kind of mad weird. And it's like, yeah, that is kind of weird. I wonder why they did that.
Right.
And in reality, there's nothing to wonder.
Engagement.
Exactly, right? Because it's the start of the season. We don't want players getting bored. You know, people are going to be playing for a lot longer quarantine. Like we can afford to have like leveling take a little bit of time. I mean, I've won games like back to back to back, right? But like, so it's like you can always overcome the odds, right? Sometimes people are having weird games, weird connections. So it's not like just because they hand you into a lobby where you have a 50% chance to come in first doesn't mean you're not going to win. But like, yeah. So when I said handing out wins and losses, that might have been a little too aggressive of terminology.
Well, no, I get what you're saying though. They're kind of, all right. They're not handing out wins and losses. They're just messing with the probabilities to increase engagement because they don't want you winning too much or losing too much.
And that's because of like research showing like addictive patterns. So like win, loss. I think it's like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, some shit like that. I don't remember all the patterns, but like that's so the whole way we talk about it as a community is kind of flawed, right? Because like SBMM is a term that pretty much like everyone kind of understands, but like it's not what's actually being used. Like it plays a very small role in your skill rating. There's a lot more other factors that go into it, like how much you play the game, like what tendencies Activision picks up on when it comes to like how often you play, that kind of stuff plays a larger role. And what I would say is that like just the whole conversation around it is kind of flawed. And that's what I was trying to get at in those TikToks was that like SBMM, like whether or not they're looking at your skill rating is a moot point because what they're actually doing is trying to get you hooked on chasing that win, chasing the dragon, trying to get you hooked on like leveling through your battle pass. All those green dots are there for a reason. So like that's
they're using I got you. So they're using skill-based matchmaking to accomplish EOMM's goals.
Exactly. And the thing is that like we shouldn't be calling it SBMM, right? Because like so I see articles all the time about like COD players in uproar over X things. So like Cold War integration, right? I see these articles all the time, right? And I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, COD players uproar over skill-based matchmaking like will just get you laughed out of the room by the rest of the gaming community because like when you just say SBMM, well, every game has skill-based matchmaking and ranked. Like every game has that, so just deal with it. But when you start talking about like addictive tendencies being pushed by a company, so lootboxes, for example, well, then everyone's ears are open because it affects kids and kids are getting addicted, gambling. Oh no. And now you have like a Hawaii legislature trying to get a bill passed, like anti-lootbox bill passed. It wasn't successful, but like that gets actual press. That gets responses from a corporation as big as Activision is bad press. SBMM is not bad press. SBMM, when you frame the conversation, SBMM, everyone's like, okay, this only affects COD players. Like, what does this have to do with the rest of the community? What does this have to do with the rest of the industry? But when you say engagement-based matchmaking, with the whole goal getting people hooked on COD through like these addictive win-loss patterns, that scares people. That scares people into talking about it. That scares like Paul Tassi at Forbes into writing an article about it. I hope that's making sense, right? It's like the whole conversation we talk about SBMM is just flawed from the get-go, and no one's going to listen because it's the way we talk about it. Like, there was only so much information they were able to collect on you back in the day. And now they can, I mean, a lot of people have the COD app on their phone. Like, they can look at how often you're engaging with, like, Call of Duty content. Even something as small as, like, they know
that
if you're addicted. I would say total playtime across, at least from what I remember with Modern Warfare, they weren't looking at like every single, like they had the information, they had the ability to look at like all your other COD accounts. Also, there's a recon at gulag, I think, at prison. So they had the ability. They've always had the ability to look at like your stuff from other Call of Duties. If I remember correctly, like Modern Warfare 3, you could display prestiges from like your past COD games you played. So they've always had the ability to look at that stuff. And it seems as if I don't. Have you played Cold War?
Yes.
So I don't know, like, if you noticed, but like the first time I booted up Cold War and hopped into a multiplayer match, right? I was level 1.
I fragged everyone.
Sorry. See, okay, and now here's where our what's it called? Experiences differ. My first game, was straight up. I think it was 3 days after release. Everyone in my lobby had already prestiged once. 3 days after release. It was a decently easy game, but I was just sitting there like, I remember every single time I boot up a COD, it took a couple games before I was starting to get put into quote unquote like higher ranked lobbies, ranking being like time played progression. It would take some time, and I'd just be dropping 40 kills every game before.
So are you saying that you think Cold War took information from other games to determine, like predetermine? You were almost like pre-ranked.
Pre-ranked / like put in lobbies that are like, okay, let's get them from the get-go. Because it wasn't like it was a super hard lobby, but like everybody in my lobby had more time played than me on Cold War.
Right. So like, how else could they have known to put you in there?
Unless they were like, oh fuck, okay, he's played Modern Warfare. He had a 3 KD for some time. Did Damascus, ruined his shit. We're down to 1.7. All right, good. We can let's just throw him in this lobby. He has tons of time played in Call of Duty, so let's not start him off too easy.
That seems fucked up to me.
I was molding on stream on my first game. I was like,
I have a question.
What?
Then.
Go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I missed it or not. So say I grind out Damascus.
Yep.
That plays a factor in what lobbies I'm gonna get.
Yeah, because they know like how hardcore you are, right?
Okay, so like if I didn't grind out Damascus, I just played like how I play, but without grinding that out, it might differ my lobbies.
It would differ, but honestly, I don't know how much. Like, how long have you been playing COD?
Call of Duty in general, or just Modern Warfare?
Yeah, COD in general.
15 years.
Okay, it probably wouldn't change it too much. Like it'd probably like give you easier lobbies for because you grinded it out, so
wait,
it'll give you a little bit easier for like a couple games.
Game time from like older games too, like from the COD series. It's not just the individual game.
Well, I would say at least like probably Black Ops 3.
Oh baby. Oh.
So like this Black Ops 3 was the first quote unquote PS4. Like it was that first game on the generation of consoles, right? PS4, Xbox One, if I remember correctly.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That
they have a lot of information on you.
They're taking information from old games and predetermining how good you're going to be in the next edition. That's fucked up.
I don't think it's too. I don't know if anybody wants the origin. It's up here though. It's not like I would say it's not. Substantial. It doesn't play a huge fact. Yeah, that's the word. It's not substantial when it comes to like how large, but like they want to be able to put together lobbies that have the.
I can't believe that they go back through your whole history of God. That's crazy.
So one of the things I mentioned was like player satisfaction, right?
We'll do it live.
Player satisfaction to them means you're playing the game. Like to them, the whole thing isn't about creating fair matches. Like people would be like, oh, you want to make COD super competitive. That's like a side effect of putting together games that are like, oh, this person has a 70% chance of winning, right? That's like a side effect of that system, the percentage system, the sweaty games. Yeah, so like they know essentially like, okay, so this guy, he's obviously not having a good time. All right. He stopped playing, or he rage quit out of this lobby. But so we'll dock a point from like his player satisfaction. He left the lobby. But he went back in to another lobby. This means that he is content enough with the way the game is to keep playing. Yeah. Why would anything change?
Right.
And if they are able to, like, because they have all this information on your habits, they know kind of like what your breaking point is.
Dude,
like there's this
they know more about me than myself.
Yeah.
So like there's this terminology in like game theory, and like I don't remember the exact word, but like in layman's terms, it's anticipating the rage quit, right? And the most successful games can anticipate like the line between fun and frustration, right? And for the vast majority of COD players, right? And as I mentioned previously, the guys that came back to COD or the guys that are playing COD after being like Halo fans, and Halo has been, there's not a yearly release, so there's not much content.
Right.
Those people, especially like the extremely casual, the guys that like play the weekend warriors, I would say, like to those people make up like the vast majority of the COD community.
Really?
I mean, yeah, like there's any of these like super popular franchises, they are humongous. What Warzone itself? Oh, no, it's a leaf. Warzone itself had what 100 million players like a week after launch or something. Like these communities, like these games are fucking massive when it comes to player count. I think across the river basin.
Across the river, yeah.
So like it's the ones like the online, like there's, I think what Reddit for COD Warzone is like 300K players or something. That's a small fraction. Even like the most popular YouTube channels, like it's like a lot of the same people follow a lot of the same content creators. So it's not like you can just add them all up. For the most part, it's like if you follow Nick Merckx, you probably watch Swag as well, right? Like the community is, while massive compared to a lot of other gaming communities, COD is so mainstream that the people that are most negatively affected by like this engagement system, and by negatively affected, I mean the line between frustration and fun, those people are the ones that like will be loudest about it, but like it's still like there's not a concern from the general populace of COD.
It's fighting straight ahead here.
See, that's interesting because I guess I'm a little bit more than a casual player because I play probably like 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So that's more than a casual player.
If you're
But
willing to stream COD, you're not a casual player.
I guess this question answers itself based on the things you've been saying about EOMM, because I think the biggest frustration with the community, and I agree with this, why don't they just have a ranked mode and a mode that's completely random?
So a lot of the times, I don't remember the exact like internal data, but ranked systems, for the longest time, I don't remember if I like mentioned this before, but for the longest time, like COD's ranked community was pretty much outsourced out to like game battles and other services, right? For the longest time. And then when we finally got like League play in Black Ops 2, like there were a lot of people on it. I don't remember the exact numbers, but like for the most part, it's not. It comes down to like the percentages of the community and like, is it worth, like there's a cost benefit there where it's like, is it worth to maintain something like ranked? Is it worth maintaining if it doesn't like bring an added benefit of like revenue?
It's like a draw on the server. It's a draw on. All right, so the two different lobbies isn't going to work because
It's not that it wouldn't work. It would ranked would definitely work, right? It would take some of the frustration out of it. You would know where you stand as a player. Like it's a good idea. And I think Vondahar said ranked is coming, or they're working on it. But like
guys flying in below us.
It's not always worth it for them to keep up with ranked. I think anybody who played ranked in Black Ops 4 can attest to it being kind of a shitty experience.
One coming up the ladder. I guess my question really is like, how do I get into easier lobbies? Like, how do I beat the system to not have to be sucked into the addiction cycle and the skill-based, having to play with people of my caliber?
All right. So, yeah. So I think it's first very important that we make the distinction between what the system is actually doing, right? It's not matching you. Many people think like it's not trying to nerf you. That's one. Two, it's not like a skill-based system like many other games, right? So if you leave and come back, you will get easier lobbies, right? If you take a break, it's engagement-based. They want you to feel good. They want you to always like feel good kind of and teeter on that edge, chase the dragon of like feeling like those dopamine hits, right? And that's why it's not like when like the whole community kind of needs to like go from talking about SBMM to talking about it like call it. I mean, we need to come up with something common, but like EOMM or EMM, something like that. That's one, right? Two, when it comes to like fixing the system, to fix the system, I would say that you don't play their manipulative game, right? So step one, if you're on console, don't like, and I know this is like, everyone says it's impossible to like hurt Activision monetarily, right? Like it's so difficult to like, you know, people are going to buy it regardless. That mindset will kind of be one reason why things don't change. And it takes all of us, including like big content creators. And that's why like sometimes when I hear, oh, I don't like SBMM, and then they pimp their creator code in the same sentence, in the same breath, it's very hypocritical. Because a lot of these guys are like huge. They have huge armies of fans that they could honestly, if they came together and made some sacrifices, could actually get this message of like, hey guys, like we're not playing Activision's game for like a week, and see if that has, and whether or not that has an effect on Activision, that 100%, you know, once you get that message across of we don't like being manipulated, that's the kind of stuff that shows up in articles. COD gamers are boycotting COD because of X reason, right? X reason being manipulative, addictive. So the one thing is reach out to like content creators and reach out to people like that will say things like, oh, I'm being nerfed in game, or oh, I can't believe skill-based matchmaking works like this. And as much as it sucks to say, be that well actually guy. And be like, well, actually, this is how it works. This is how manipulative it is, right? They want you to play your game even when you're not having fun, right? I don't know about you guys, but I know people where it's like, oh, I don't really like this game, but I want to finish the battle pass before the season ends, so I'm going to keep playing. Or I bet like everyone knows someone that's like, they rage super hard at Warzone, and they're like, as much as they say like I'm not mad or I'm not having a good time, they are like not having a good time sometimes, right? But yet they have like every single fucking skin, right? Right. And it's a lot of those like, hey man, like if you're not having, one thing everyone needs to do when they're playing COD is, am I actually having fun? That's one question. Two, why am I grinding for, like, why am I doing this action in game? Like, why am I sitting here grinding for X camo? Am I not having fun now so I can have fun in the future? Like, am I essentially like mindlessly grinding so that someday in the future I can have fun? Because like that's one reason why like I kind of dislike Gunsmith, actually. As cool as it is in Modern Warfare, Gunsmith is kind of useless. Like 95% of the attachments might as well not exist, right? You have like 50 levels of progression for one weapon. Why? Like in reality, people are going to use like monolithic, VLK, big mag, long barrel, right? Like that shit may not even exist. Well, it's there because it's something to grind, something to keep people playing. It's a reward. It feels good when you unlock finally the barrel that will make me a god at Warzone, right? Like it's that feeling, it's that like what's been told to you by like content creators, like, oh, new broken, gun thumbnail making the O face and shit. And it's that kind of stuff that you kind of just like you just stop yourself and ask, am I having fun today? If you're not having fun today, get off. And if you find yourself constantly raging to the point where like there's people around you like, yo, dude, calm down. Or someone in a lobby's like, yo, dude, calm down. Take a step back, uninstall the game, don't play for like a week. Play something else. There's tons of good games out there. There's tons of great games out there you get to play. So that's one thing. Two would be push the people you watch, the content creators you watch, to educate themselves and their communities on like why this is manipulative. Because loot boxes were very easy to vilify, right? It's straight up gambling. Like it was very easy to make that jump from loot boxes to gambling to kids gambling, right? When loot boxes went away, it wasn't because Activision was being nice, right? It was because they caught shit for it. And then Fortnite popularized a battle pass, seasons, and that makes a lot more money. So they switched over to that. It wasn't because they wanted to be Mr. Nice Activision. And with something like that, it's still, every time you press play with this engagement system, you're effectively gambling. Gambling on having a good time, gambling on if the system wants you to win or lose. And even when I say that, it sounds a little conspiratorial, but like when you think about it in the realm of like, they want you to keep playing, it makes sense. So when you see something like that and you see these tendencies, like talk to your friends about like, yo, are we actually having fun tonight? And I would even recommend like buy COD, right? Fine. If this is your game and you love to play COD, right? Then here's what you can also do. Buy the game used if you're not buying it digitally. If you can get your hands on a copy, buy it used. That money doesn't go to Activision. don't buy stuff from the store. Only reason why I have the Battle Pass is because I bought a motherboard that came with Black Ops 4 Ultimate, and it gave me like 2,500 COD points or some shit. I have never bought any, like, I've never bought more COD points after that. So, like, buying the Battle Pass, like, okay, and if I don't finish the Battle Pass, then it's whatever. I just won't buy the next one. Like, you have to be able to distance yourself from that addiction. And I think, again, this falls back on content creators, is like education about, like, remember how loot boxes were bad? Well, the Battle Pass follows the same, like, it's all addictive, and it's just as bad as loot boxes, but it's harder to explain.
So if it's almost sounding like if you play less and you're less committed, you get rewarded in terms of the types of lobbies you'll get.
Yes.
Yeah, because they want to try to pull you in more.
They want to pull you back in.
Nowhere gets it. Yeah, they want you to play any means necessary. So,
and if they haven't seen you play in a while, they're gonna try and suck you back in.
Exactly, right? It's like, yo, he hasn't fucking touched COD in a while. Okay, fire up the easy lobby. Yeah, like, I think even Exclusive Ace kind of mentioned it in a video once, like as like a side thing. It was like, oh, a lot of you guys ask me why my lobbies look so different. Well, I don't always have time to play, so I'll collect a bunch of footage on one day, and work on videos throughout the week. And that's why it's like I'm pretty much playing Modern Warfare and Warzone like once or twice a week. That's why my gameplays look so easy. And it's like, it's right. Like, the answer is staring you guys in the face. Like, a true skill-based matchmaking system would throw you back into the skill rating of your lobbies, right? Like, in any skill-based system, there is decay of your MMR, but it's like after a month or like 4 weeks. It's not after like 1 fucking week. So it's 100% engagement based. It's
right.
And as long as you know you're being manipulated, it's easier to be like, all right, I'm not having fun. Because, like, there'll be times where I kind of, after like the first or second season of Modern Warfare, I kind of gave up on not having fun, but like having like nights where I play S&D as a 5-stack on game battles or some shit. Like, I kind of gave up on that because I realized that, like, the game, it's fun kind of, but like it has great moments. But I realized, like, when I was doing Damascus, 95% of the time I was playing COD while getting Damascus, I would have Netflix open on my second monitor, no headphones on, just running around in ground war, grinding out long shots and shit like that. And at that point, I'm like, why am I even playing? Like, once I get Damascus, am I going to go back to S&D? I don't even know. So, like, you have to know why you're playing COD. Is it for some arbitrary skin, or are you playing to have fun? If you're playing to have fun, then you need to be okay, I guess, with not playing as much, is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's the best way to fix this system is to not play their game. I guess, and by their game, I mean their engagement game. Sorry.
Right. And I guess the only other, like, scenario would be if you didn't mind, you know, like if you just truly enjoyed playing really hard and playing often, and, you know, if that is the kind of thing you're into, then, you know, this doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah. I would also say that, like, one reason why this has blown up into such a big thing, right? And I don't want to ruffle any feathers in, like, content creation community, but it is good for content. It's good for views, right? Complaining about SBMM, but then in the same, like, saying, going on Charlie Intel's podcast and saying SBMM is bad for content creation, railing against SBMM on Twitter. But then when your video comes out at the end, you're saying, thank you for Activision for the being flown out for the new season, or here's my creator code. You know, like that kind of stuff. It's kind of like, it's hypocritical. And it's like, it's posturing, I would say, by a lot of like big content creators, and, you know, good on them for getting the bag. But, like, at the same time, it's like, I don't think anything's going to change, because content creators kind of already know a lot of the ways SBMM works. And if they're able to consistently get around it, and they're able to, like, and there's people out there who will say, because I remember on some of the comments on my TikTok, it was like, I'm still having fun. I'm like, well, that's good for you. You're still having fun.
Let me ask you this while we're on the topic of content creators. Are there any content creators that are in bed with games that don't have to deal with some of the same things that average players do?
Oh, are you saying, is there a whitelist, is what you're trying to say?
Yes. You can't talk about it.
There are more perks than the being flown out and there are more perks than being flown out and your creator code. But I'm not saying that like it's shit.
Content creators need to make content.
Right. And they know that.
Yes.
And they know that if their content creators frag out and look like gods, it's going to make their community want to play.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm not saying it's like straight up like it may not hit them as hard. And also what helps, and I don't know for sure, is what I'm saying. Like I want to say, because I know there are more perks, but I don't know if there's a whitelist. That's what I'm trying to say. And what makes it even harder is like all the content creators play together, right? And all of them have high KDs. So balancing that out using probability to like hand someone, like if we're trying to give Nick Merckx a loss, but he's playing with Symphony, Huskers, and I can't think of another fucking Warzone player. It's very difficult to balance that out, to balance out their lobbies to hand them a loss.
Right.
Also, I don't know how many people know about this, but I've tested this and I kind of want to make a video on it, but like partially the way it works is that let's say me and you, Remy, we go into a duo quads lobby, right? That lobby will be easier than if me and you went into a duos lobby. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's actually something that Nowhere put me on to.
Yeah.
I think, he knew it by speculation, but it's good to hear that it's true, is that, it's the group KD, meets the group. So if we went into a duo quads, like you're saying, I'm like a 1-3 KD, you're probably like a 1-7 or a 2, and we went into quads, our combined KD is roughly 3.5, 4. That team's KD would be roughly 3.5, 4.
Yeah, and that's not like how they're balancing it. Again, they're using the probability system, and that KD thing that we notice is just a side effect. It's like a part of it. Like I would say when it comes to when you're trying to like look at the way the matchmaking works, I would say it's like 60-70% EOMM and the rest of it's like skill-based ? Like quote unquote skill-based, if that makes any sense, where it's like it plays a part, but your engagement overall with the game matters more. Does that make sense?
So they weigh in how often you're playing and wanting to keep you engaged much more than your skill level.
Yes. And someone just pointed this out in my chat, Fixer95. He says, COD streamers are so bad with this. My friends and I noticed that Tim the Tatman and Nick Merckx wake up day after season launches with weapons maxed out. Almost seems like they pay people to grind guns overnight. That is actually not true. So when content creators get invited to these events, they usually get like an account. Or not, well, because of Corona, there's no actual events, but like online events or whatever. There is an account they get that gets everything like unlocked for them. And sometimes if you're smart, you can just link it to your main account. So like everything will get opened or not open, unlocked. Yeah. So it's not like they're paying anybody to grind overnight. It's just one of the perks of being a content creator.
Don't get me wrong. That's good business. That's good business on Warzone.
They want to show off.
Exactly.
Yeah. They want to show off the new content.
Exactly. And you're, even if they are doing things like quote unquote whitelisting big streamers, I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a negative thing. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely something that I've oh, there's dudes on me.
Fuck, there are? God damn.
Yeah, hold on. I didn't realize people.
Are you sure not hearing me coming from up the hill?
Nope.
Because I'm walking up a hill right now.
I heard wooden sounding steps.
Oh fuck! All right.
I got a question after this. Something I've always wanted to know.
There's a mine in here.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer it. Like I try to answer. I'm trying to be careful with my words while playing, which is one reason my gameplay is taking a complete fucking hit. Because
hold on, watch out. There's a mine in that other room.
So I heard that the more you spend in the item shop, the better lobbies you get. Is this a myth?
So there was a patent put out, and I think it was discovered Black Ops 4 time maybe. So Black Ops 4 was what, 2017, some shit. 2018, I don't fucking remember. And it was essentially, it would put spenders in lobbies that are, according to the patent, of lower skill rating or something like that. Put them in lobbies to show off, essentially like dominate and then, or play really, really well with like a skin they bought, so that non-payers who happen to be of lower skill turn into people spending money.
Yep.
Damn.
Is that for me? What are we trying to buy here?
Lodi if we can.
I'm gonna need yours, Remy.
That's pretty crazy, bro.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
I wanted to ask so bad about that, my time there. Also, someone's dropping back in. Fucking this direction.
So that there's a patent that exists, but it's not necessarily in the game?
I really don't know. Like 100% honesty, it wouldn't surprise me.
Push up.
So to Nowhere's question, that kind of thing may exist?
I'd put my money on it. Shit. Being taken into account into the engagement process, but not being like the, like I imagine it's a part of it, but
just not
like
as crazy
as yeah, like I don't think so. There are people that will like, and I don't. A lot of the community is fairly young, so like nuance can be a thing that is lost on an 11-year-old. God, that sounds like an asshole thing to say, but like it's. I mean, when you're young, you don't always realize that that like there's like things aren't black and white. So just because like I've noticed people, like a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the reason why I'm having trouble with my X lobby or whatever."
How far was that?
So
Damn.
like just because I'm saying that like, oh, it may play a factor doesn't mean that it is the only factor. That is what I'm trying to say. So I hope to God no one takes this and is like, "Oh, new news. It's 100%."
What like department did you work in at Activision? Like what was your
analytics and monetization? Analytics within monetization, my bad. So
so that's like that's the area of controversy right now, basically.
Yeah, like my project. So I mean, it's very compartmentalized. So you do have to like not every like art's not gonna know what the fuck's going on with, not art, but like PR is not gonna necessarily know what the fuck's going on with like engagement systems and stuff, right? So it's like when you find out that, for example, like, hey, I need you to figure out how to grab data sets for player movement. So like when you get told like, hey, I need you to essentially find a way to draw data on player movement, right? And then you're like, oh, why? Like, what's the purpose of this project? And then you find out a little bit more about how certain systems work. So that's how a lot of like if you are enough of an inquisitive mind, it is fairly easy to kind of piece together what's going on in the background. So all right, what were you saying?
How many like advantages are given to console? I mean, I imagine it's mostly console that's getting a lot of gameplay advantages. Is that true?
What do you mean gameplay advantages? Like, because I mean, aim assist is pretty standard on console. It's not like
right.
Like I'm a little confused as to what you're trying to ask.
I guess my question is, my question wants to be how strong is aim assist, but how do you answer that? You know, like
yeah, it's kind of hard to quantify.
Right, like
that's kind of like anything I would give would be anecdotal, I guess.
Right.
So
you have the pulse of the community and the gaming world for the most part. Is aim assist as strong as people say it is or complain about?
So a lot of times, like when a PC player is complaining about aim assist, right? A lot of time it's like, well, it's not the snap aim assist that's like in campaign or zombies or like GTA, and that's what like people like kind of imagine if they've never used controller on PC before, and all they do is or controller in general, and all they do is watch like a streamer, right? So it's not aimbot. All it simply does, all aim assist on CoD is meant to do is slow down your aim for precision. That's it, like sticky aim, right? You still have to get on target, but it's supposed to stick you onto your target.
See, that's what it feels like it does. Like, or at least that's when I'm going against somebody, and it feels like I almost feel like you can tell when somebody, I mean, obviously you can tell when somebody's on a controller or not, but like, even in terms of the aim, it seems like tracking with a controller is magnetic.
So I would say at closer the range, this is the way I've always looked at it. Closer the distance, the more advantageous a controller is. At much longer ranges, so if I'm trying to beam someone with a growl, a PC player should have the advantage. Because long range, it's harder to be more precise on a joystick. Right? But like up close, like hip firing someone, trying to melt someone with hip fire, that becomes a lot easier on a controller because of the sticky aim.
Do they alter things like hitbox size or I did a little research on aim assist like a couple months ago, and I saw something about like you have a larger margin for error with aim assist. Like I guess that in a way is saying increased hitbox. Or it almost alluded to or said like the bullets will almost bend to hit
like
a
bullet
target.
Magnetism. Bullet magnetism, right? So I don't know if you kept up with the release of like Halo Master Chief on PC. But when the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so when Halo Master Chief Collection came out, there was a issue with PC players versus console players playing on the same server, in that if you played on or not console players, but controller players playing on the same server, in that if you played on a controller, it's not like the hitboxes were busted, but there was like your FOV for aim assist was much higher. So you almost had like this bullet magnetism. So if you were off, your reticle would still light up red, and your shots would still count.
Right.
And that was like an issue. I don't know exactly how you would test that on COD. I think if there was bullet magnetism, right, in the game I think if it was in the game at all times, COD tuber would have found it by now. A COD tuber would have found it by now.
That's fair.
Now, I don't think they would spend time implementing something like that that's like variable based off of, again, like the game being rigged or something.
Right. Is aim assist ever like, like most things are, it's glitchy? Does aim assist ever like
it is glitchy.
malfunction?
Yes. So as these games, okay, so you remember like back in the day, games weren't very like they didn't use this technology called I think it's called photogrammy or something like that, where essentially they scan objects into the game to make them look hyper detailed, hyper realistic. Like maps are very realistic. There's like poles and stuff everywhere. Like they are detailed, right? There was a video, somebody tested this. I don't remember who, but essentially how aim assist is very prone to breaking, especially in a gunfight where you may not notice it. So like a small little corner may be clipping your aim assist out, right? So like, let's say there's a fence between me and you, right? Me and you, I'm looking at nowhere, I'm trying to shoot him, but there's a fence, right?
Right.
And my reticle's on him. I'm not aiming into the fence, but my aim assist is breaking because it's like the game just sees like a object in front, even if there isn't. And sometimes because like these maps can get so complicated and they have to rush these games out, the quote unquote hitbox of the object isn't like 1-to-1 with what's actually being seen.
Right.
I'll buy you.
Okay. So does aim assist ever get what's the word I guess I'm looking for?
It is.
I guess it's changed first. So you know how like there's skill-based matchmaking or the other one. Does aim assist ever get nerfed or buffed for a player who's doing worse or better?
Not in all the stuff I've seen.
Okay. It's just like a general thing.
Yeah, the only time that I've noticed like any of that language has been in like PvE conversations or even like that patent, which was talking about PvE. It would make sense for it to be in a game like that. Almost like, because like, okay, you can have protected brackets in PvP games, right? Like, because you're playing against other players. But how do you have in an online PvE game, there's no like easy, normal, hard mode to really do. There's no protected brackets in a PvE game. So the closest thing to that would be adjusting difficulty on the fly without someone really noticing. Is it, is it an insult to like ye old days of gaming where you had to get good kid or whatever? I guess, but like it's a PvE game, so it's like, who are you really hurting?
Right. Now that is something that people have been talking about a lot lately, and I made a video about it. It's actually a more popular video of mine at the moment. And how that I feel like is extremely a fucked up thing to do in a PvP scenario.
Yeah. No, if it were, it needs to be. I guess, yeah, it would have to be addressed, but everything I've seen, it is not.
Let me ask you a question. Are there any serious talks? Like, were you ever part of any serious talks or anything like that? Or heard about anything about them removing things like skill-based matchmaking or testing out not having things that are manipulative and controlling?
They have years and years of data on the way things were. As long as the idea is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like this was, you have to remember, this Activision was one of the last companies to like straight up be like, oh, we're not lootbox, we're not acted. What was the fucking? I don't remember the nickname, but like we're not greedy anymore. Or not greedy, but we're not using loot boxes anymore. Like they were one of the last companies to do that.
Damn.
GG's.
I think we just got an example of the stuff that like people cite when they're quote unquote getting nerfed. Like, oh, like those shots on that guy when he was rezzing his friend weren't hitting. Well, it's because there's probably some desync between the reviving animation when you're moving around and what's actually going on.
That mountain I was trying to shoot over, I was still hitting
that too.
Yeah, kind of screwed me up a little bit.
And like again, remember what I mentioned? Like sometimes like the what's it called? The prop in front of you and its hitbox aren't like 1-to-1 correctly.
Yep.
So you see that you're shooting past it, but the game thinks you're shooting into it. And that can also be one reason why like aim assist goes wonky there. So that right there is a perfect example. Like that will break aim assist. Or it should. All right, so does your in-game movement like slide canceling get tracked so it puts you with people with the same movement? So like movement tech doesn't get tracked. So like tech as in like technique. So like slide canceling, right? This doesn't get tracked, but because I can slide cancel, I do move around the map a lot faster. So because I'm moving around the map a lot faster, I'm having better rotates. Because I can move around the map faster, that kind of stuff. Think of it like a heat map of where you are on the map. And if you're pretty evenly spread around the map, then that's going to go into your quote unquote player profile. So I hope that answers that question.
Damn.
Yeah, so they have player profiles based off like your spending habits, how you play, your score per minute. Although like score per minute in KD, like that gets adjusted based off of like the lobbies they put you in. But like there's a lot you can tell from the type of player. Like you can kind of get a lot of information from the type of player someone is by like the attachments they put on a weapon, the way they play, how much they move around the map. That kind of stuff goes into it, and they kind of like assign you a player profile, and stuff like player satisfaction gets put in there. Stuff like spending habits gets put in there. All of that is like, it's not a player profile like, oh, this guy's a fragger, but it's like, I'm trying to remember some of the language. But it essentially, it's not like, oh, this guy's a fragger. It's like, oh, this guy's he's willing to spend, he plays kind of defensively. Based off like these criteria, we're going to place him on a team or a lobby that has like either similar spending habits, completely different spending habits, similar play styles, different play styles, depending on if like we're trying to push towards a win or a loss. That's actually kind of difficult to explain. I hope I did a good job.
Interesting.
Okay, I got a quick one before I forget this question.
Oh yeah.
So say, how do I word this properly? I guess because it goes back into buying stuff. So say I'm getting, say I go back to back at 3 wins in a row, and then I'm enjoying the game, so I put a lot of money into the game. I start spending money. Are they going to take that into consideration and say maybe we'll give him some easier lobbies to keep getting those wins and have him keep spending money? Would it be
So-
that complex?
I think this goes back to like me mentioning the patent where it was like trying to
Yeah.
turn people that are spenders or non-spenders into spenders. And it's shit. How do I answer this properly? It goes into your player profile. I don't know how large of an effect it has. I think that's probably the best way for me to answer that.
Yeah.
I can neither confirm nor deny. No, not that, but like that sounds goofy. But it is tracked, and
Yeah.
it can be like, it's not like if I spend $200, I'm immediately going to get noob lobbies. But it's more like, oh, he spends a lot of money. Let's not hit him with the engagement matchmaking as hard.
Yeah. Let's keep making him happy so he keeps on spending money, in a sense.
Fuck you.
All right, back to the question from chat. What are your thoughts on hackers anti-cheat? Hacking, anti-cheat, that's all like cat and mouse game, honestly. They're never gonna, and COD being one of the largest, should have one of the best anti-cheats in the industry, but doesn't. And from what I know, talking to people that I still somewhat talk to, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab Scavenger. Talking to people I still talk to, is that it's not like the anti-cheat team is poor. It's just in comparison to a lot of other anti-cheats in the industry, they should be better funded. And they also rely heavily on shadow bans. And shadow bans aren't necessarily permanent. And there's also a like hardware banning system in place, but like it's not very hard to get around like hardware ID bans. That's what I know about it. I don't think, let me just put it like this. The CDL introduced an amateur league this season. I don't remember what it's exactly called, but there's an amateur league for CDL, like a path to pro, somewhat. And there have been, that first weekend, there was an insane amount of people cheating in Cold War for CDL amateur league. So the fact they can't even get a handle on it for an amateur league where there's prize money on the line, I wouldn't put much faith into their ability to handle hackers for the rest of us.
Let me ask you this. So I guess you're probably, cause like the way you answered that makes me think, this question you might not either be able to answer or like it's not a thing. Do they, are they kind of okay with hackers? Is it kind of an approach of like any publicity is good publicity?
So
you know what I mean?
That's actually interesting because a lot of games in the past have, like CS:GO for example, had a huge hacking problem when it was starting to blow up. And it's like, well, you ban someone, you can just get them back for like $15 or whatever. And it's kind of the same stuff that's been spouted here. So it's not like they're okay with it. But again, they do like the cost benefit analysis where how much is it helping? How much is it hurting us? And are players leaving because of it? Like, are we still making money? Are we still making more money than we did last quarter? Once it gets to the part where it starts really negatively affecting them, then they'll start caring.
UAV.
What's the metric for that? Is it really just money? It's just like, are we still making money? Change nothing kind of thing?
It's always about how can we make more money, and solving the cheating problem costs more money than having another
return.
season with more content, right?
Right. So, all right, let me ask you this. What are the biggest, what do you think the biggest issues are with Call of Duty right now?
Transparency, lack of it.
Right here.
Fuck. How much do I have to lead with this fucking Krieg? Just like players don't really know.
Okay, so what's your opinion on Cold War guns being really strong?
It's
in
by
Warzone?
design.
By design?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of games do that, where it's like anything that's new that gets released, typically going to be very powerful compared to besides like power creep, like you have in games like League.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason why it takes a while for them to fix stuff.
Now, is this to get people to buy Cold War?
Or okay, I'm not going to say there's a reason why,
Yeah.
and something like League, okay, balance issues they do have to test out. But like the side effect is that, yeah, a lot of people end up just buying shit that's broken. It's
Okay.
like why when Dragon's Breath came out, right? There was that bundle for Krieger, I think, or whatever, that came with Dragon's Breath, right? Like they know when something's gonna be very strong. Like they're not idiots. They can do math. Like Exclusive Ace and Drifter aren't the only ones that can do math.
So how much like to piggyback off of that, with doing things like when guns are broken and they don't nerf it,
Mhm.
is that by design as well?
There was a good, oh shit, this was like 6 years ago. One of the guys that worked on the community manager for World at War was asked a question about why like the MP40 was so broken. And it was essentially, it was like, it's supposed to be a high skill weapon. And like the way we balanced it, we didn't expect people to necessarily figure out how to use it so well, so quickly. And that sometimes happens. Shit. Oh, okay. That sometimes happens. And other times it's there because like they think it's a good solution to another problem with the meta, right? So like if the devs really do think that, oh shit, this thing like the MP5 is broken. It's like not broken, but it's pretty much being the only gun used, and they'll introduce something to shake up the meta. And they're like, okay, well, it's good at mid range, it's good at close range. How about we put something in that'll shake up the close range meta? And that's how you kind of get Dragon's Breath. So
they brought in Dragon's Breath to address a meta issue, and then like were they anticipating that it would create a new meta?
Yes. So shit. What how do I answer this one? All right. So like there's a couple like methodologies when it comes to like balance. It's like ones you nerf everything, ones like you buff stuff. You either bring stuff up to whatever is controlling the meta, or you nerf whatever is very popular.
Right.
And it seems as if like they'll nerf stuff that really dominates. They want things to have like its own place. Like they don't really want something controlling every range, for example, right? So like the MP5 was still pretty good at like medium to close range, and it was pretty good in close range fights. And that to them might have also shown them when like they can look at like usage data, like this is pretty much the secondary that everybody uses. So it's like to them, it's like, how do we shake this up without making the game too difficult? Because I mean, there's a reason why like loadout guides. There's a reason why like loadout guides do so well on YouTube, right? Because a lot of people don't want to take the time to like test out 50 different attachments.
Right.
So even the developers are aware of this, and that's kind of like how you end up with the R9. It's like, okay, we'll introduce something new to the game. You know, it's not like Dragon's Breath is completely new to the sandbox, but if we introduce on the R9, you know, it looks like according to these numbers, it would be pretty dominant at super close ranges. Now, do they go a little overboard with the range at which it's, you know, at which it's dominant? Yeah, they went overboard. But
right.
Like they're aware of the issues, and a lot of times it's like, well, the Dragon's Breath has been pretty good for like.
Here's a question.
Those dudes in front of us are dead, right? Yeah, they are. All right.
Or wait, you were in the middle of answering a question, weren't you?
Yes and no, kind of. Shoot, what is it? What's up?
How much has COD taken from Fortnite in terms of like business model, gameplay strategies? We already talked about like seasons and things like that, battle passes. How much of this stuff are they just straight up ripping from Fortnite, and how much things do them and Fortnite work together? Do they share ideas? Like, what's their relationship with Fortnite?
So the thing is that like pretty much everybody in the gaming industry, especially higher up, knows everybody. So like executives at Epic, executives at Activision. I mean, when you're in tech in California, like everyone knows everyone, right? So it's like, it's not like they don't ever talk business. They'll talk business and they'll be like, oh, this is something we're trying, implementing. But they won't talk like gameplay ideas, because remember, this is like the VP of monetization, or like an executive for player relations. I'm trying to think of other departments. You know, these aren't like the developers, and even the developers know each other. But like a lot of these guys, the harder you work, the more likely like a programmer or like a project lead probably won't be talking too much about his project after work to there is input-based matchmaking, especially in Warzone. So if you're on keyboard and mouse or mixed lobby, you'll get a higher degree of mixed players in your
they must have been teammates
in your lobbies. It shouldn't, affect recoil or whatever in game. Just some people are better at controlling recoil on their mouse and keyboard.
So like the reason I ask that,
and in-game tournaments probably not for money.
The recent
like Fortnite probably not.
The new Fortnite season, right? They came out.
So I would say that, I mean, these games don't exist in a vacuum. Like they can obviously some developers play the other game from time to time, and they know what works, and they know what things people quote unquote enjoy. So it's not like it's almost like the imitation that they're imitation's the sincerest form of flattery or something. But when it comes to gameplay mechanics, yeah, they'll like to copy from one another or try to implement something similar, right? Remember when Apex came out and then Fortnite quickly added buying back in, where you pick up the card and bring your teammate back. Yeah, so these games will copy one another in that regard, but a lot of the time it's just mainly about but from a business perspective, there's a lot we don't know about what's going on the back end. So it's kind of hard to say if they copy one another. But something like a battle pass, right? When you see Fortnite makes $1 billion off microtransactions in X amount of time, and then a couple years later, and then a year later, you see Call of Duty Warzone or Call of Duty made $1.3 billion in 3 months off of microtransactions, right? Those patterns are quite similar, and they're also some of the biggest franchises in gaming. So it's not far-fetched to see that they essentially know what trends to copy and what systems to copy. Now, does Fortnite have the same EOMM system? I don't know.
Right.
But I wouldn't put it past for a lot of free games to do that, because you have to remember there's things like mobile games it's kind of the same idea behind mobile games where it comes to addiction, and they typically spur that via notifications. And when the battle pass is a huge reason for Fortnite's monetary success, yeah, Call of Duty is going to copy that. And that's probably one of the more transparent copies, I guess, that you can point out. Yeah.
Different titles.
So there's technically three studios and 3 titles. Infinity Ward is, not really even in charge of Modern Warfare anymore, because Modern Warfare, they're not really, supposedly not adding content to it. Raven's in charge of managing all of what's it called, Warzone, and Treyarch is in charge of Cold War. And then Sledgehammer, God knows what Sledgehammer's doing. Last anybody knows, they pulled off Cold War and it was turned into a Treyarch game. So there's no deal cut. I mean, because Activision owns all these studios.
They own all of them,
so yeah, so I mean, Activision says jump, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, all of them will say how high.
Got it. So there wasn't a Modern Warfare got, the Modern Warfare creators got some kind of compensation or commission from sales from Cold War by involving it in Warzone. You know what I mean? There wasn't anything like that.
No, I mean, it's not unheard of to get performance bonuses based off of how the game does quarterly, but that's not always passed down to your programmers and your guys that work on the engine and shit. It's usually higher management, managers, the guys above managers.
Right.
Sometimes, depending on if the game's doing really, really well, and there's a performance bonus for even your artists, but it's not hey, you there, programmer guy, Institute SBMM, programmer guy at Treyarch. A lot of these guys really don't even know what's going on. If you work at Treyarch as a junior level programmer, you don't really know what's going on with with like the back end of matchmaking, right? Like you would know because Activision's in charge of it. So someone working at Activision would have a better understanding of the back end.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense. Do you think a game would do well that had 0 SBMM or EOMM? It was just natural.
A good game would survive without EOMM. Case in point, like Counter-Strike, but like Counter-Strike is kept alive by its SBMM on its like ranked side, right? And like the rich history of competition. CoD has always been, and I know people love to contest this, but CoD for the longest time has always been a relax, play with your guy, like play with your friends after like after a like tough day at work or whatever. Yeah, engagement numbers are king throughout really anything you use in your day-to-day life, really, for that company that you like Facebook, TikTok, any of that. Like I have TikTok notifications off for the very reason so that I'm not always engaging with it.
I should probably do that, honestly.
Like I don't need to see every single comment, every single like when I open it up once or twice a day for 15 minutes, that's enough for me to see all my notifications.
Right. It should be enough. I agree entirely. Yeah. I've been trying to do it less lately. I wish there was a way you could like fully turn off numbers. Like what if I didn't want to know how many views a video got? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be fucking helpful. It really would. Cause like even the one reason why I kind of noticed this, I'm like, okay, so TikTok, if you have more than like 99 notifications, it'll just say 99 plus. It won't be like, you know, like Gmail is like, oh, you have 10,000 emails, right? It's not like 9K plus. It tells you that the number you have. I'm pretty sure the reason why TikTok tells you 99 plus is so that you stay on the app trying to figure out what the hell else you have as a notification.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like
it's weird that you say that too, because sometimes when I'm on, like, I've had a couple of videos do really well, right? So sometimes when I have a video that's doing really well, I'll wake up in the morning or something, like look at my notifications, and it'll say like 1,000 this and 2,000 this and 3,000 this, and sometimes it just says like 99 plus.
Yep. I mean, it's really about like, and it feels good too, right? When you see like a shit ton of numbers pop up on anything you post, like, it feels really good. Yeah. And that's kind of what they're banking on. For the most part, that's what they're banking on. That's what keeps people around. So
I need to find a TikTok, somebody who knows about TikTok to come on the stream and explain TikTok. That would be very, very awesome.
All right, where are we dropping?
Chemical.
Yeah, that works. So I mean, the thing is with technology, a lot of the engagement methodology is pretty much the same,
right?
For the most part.
You say they factor in from other games, right? What about like custom modes? Do they track that stuff? Like if I'm warming up with bots, you know what I mean?
GG's.
Huh. I actually don't know.
Because
I'll be honest, I have no clue.
Like, how do you become good without them knowing? You know,
just play customs when you first get the game.
Customs.
Yeah, but like, so you're not going to unlock anything, and that's part of the progression tree. It's almost like COD progression is almost like an RPG, where it's like you have to grind to be able to get your character to its like maximum potential. So you got to get all these attachments that give you more range. Otherwise, you're going to lose to guys, even if you're a better player.
Right.
That have like all the attachments.
Got it.
Okay. So what if, say like I've been playing for X amount of days that I have. I don't know if it's like 30 days or whatever in total game time on this game. So if someone who's hacking gets put into my lobby and they make a new account, what factors them into my matches, in a sense, if you know what I'm trying to ask?
So are you saying if someone is on a brand new account?
Yeah, and they're strictly hacking, right? Like, what if I face a hacker who just made a new account and is now on just a hack? Why would they technically be in my lobby?
So, okay. I get what you're. Brand new account, right? Double checking. Yep. Brand new account, free to play Warzone, right? Yep. At that point, it's pretty much because if they're like straight up just like dropping 40 kills every game, it's trying to find ways to slow them down. So it just kind of like exponentially just throws them into harder and harder games. But since they're rage hacking and just like snapping onto dudes, you know, it becomes much harder for them to essentially like stop them.
I mean, why don't
Does
they
that make
just
any
like if you have over a 10 KD, odds are you're cheating. Like, why aren't they just mass banning these kids?
So they do like shadow bans. I know this for a fact. Like they'll do shadow bans, but apparently they only last like a week. I don't know the validity of that statement. You'd have to ask someone that's gotten a shadow ban, but apparently they don't last. Like the shadow bans themselves, while effective, they don't last very long. And I think part of that is because like they want those returning players. But like yeah,
that's what I was just gonna say. They don't want to lose that potential revenue.
Yeah, because I mean there are people that. I saw a guy with I spectated a guy. I like have it as a TikTok actually. This dude was spectating. He was straight up hacking, and he had the purple tracer growl. So I'm like, okay, that's. I guess if you're cheating, you're also bold enough. If you're bold enough to cheat, I guess you're also bold enough to buy skins and cheat.
Right.
Money's money, man. Doesn't matter where it's coming from.
Money, and money runs it. The whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much.